Soundstripe.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Book of Man, featuring or hosted by me, your host, Jay Sims, the Lion, and featuring Doc, one of my good friends and brothers in the world. And we want to give an opportunity to enlighten, inform, inspire, motivate, and entertain. We will be discussing topics from ranging all over about the growth and development of the Black man. Good evening, Doc. What you got for me?
Oh man, Lion. Well, I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to be a part of this. Just looking forward to try to help some young men out there in the world. We know what we've been through. We know what kind of stuff that we didn't hear about. So we want to try to make sure that we can circumvent those accidents and those mistakes from happening. If we can help just one, then I consider our job done.
That's the goal, man. We can old school saying, each one teach one. And if we can teach one, that'll be great. We can teach 10 better, 10,000 even better. It's a lot of lessons, I think, because of the current state of Black America, so to speak, are getting kind of brushed under the rug or not completely learned and understood. And if we can take a few moments of our time to impart the knowledge we've learned as men, and we learn from other men, out to some of our younger brothers and even brothers our age, because just like you and me, we still learn.
That's right, bro. You always need somebody. And we should always strive to be lifetime learners. That way we never stop learning, we never stop growing, we never stop evolving. So just keep pushing forward. So what we got for the day? What are we going to talk about?
Well, we're going to talk about something that really means a lot to me and should mean a lot to everybody. And that's going to be knowing your worth, knowing your value. What are you worth? How do you and your beliefs and your actions and the things you do affect those around you? What makes up a man, so to speak? What gives him value beyond, say, his money, or to include his money? I think there's a real disparity in America and in the Black community specifically, where Black men just don't feel they have any value to add to them. They don't have any value in themselves or to add to those around them.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. When we was talking about this before, a thought came to my mind. And what I wrote down is that self-esteem is greater than self-worth. Now, those words got two different meanings. But self-esteem is like, how you think and how you feel about yourself. Mm-hmm. But then self-worth is the actual recognition that you have inside that you are valuable. So I really think that we need to.
Oh, brother, say that one more time. Hey, run that back. I think I need them to hear what you just said.
All right, let me go ahead and run that back. So the definition, self-esteem is what you think and what you feel about yourself.
Okay.
But then self-worth is the actual recognition that you have within yourself that you are valuable. So those things work hand in hand. You have to be able to know that you are a good man.
Right.
That you are somebody.
Okay.
So many times we get stuck in this rut, and we always believe we are what we do. Okay. If you meet somebody new today and you ask them to introduce themselves, the first thing they're going to do is tell you what their job is.
That's correct.
I'm a warehouse manager. I'm a teacher. I'm a truck driver. We do that.
Yeah.
But like I'm going to say, you are more than your job.
You got to be more than your job. If that's where you stop, then your value stop at 5 o'clock when you clock out.
There you go. It's like you clocking out from life. So So it's imperative to develop a persona outside of what you do. Now, it's easy for us to get stuck in that because that's what we've seen. As a young man, we work. Growing up, my dad worked. He was a Amtrak employee. Right. So he would go on the Amtrak, be gone Monday through Friday. And then he'll come home Friday night get up on Saturday morning and work his side hustle of being a mechanic on Saturday, Sunday, and back out to work on Monday. So all I seen was working hard.
Right.
But we are more than that.
Right. And think about the time you lost as far as the interactions with your father. I mean, he was there and you knew him, and I'm sure y'all talked and spoke, but 5 days out the week, you didn't interact with your father. Now he was doing what he thought was his job, which was providing for his family the best way he knew how. And that railroad work, somebody has to do it. Yeah. It has to get done. And I'm sure he provided as best he could, but I'm sure there's a lot of lessons that he knew you needed to learn that he probably didn't have opportunity to give you the way you wanted, the way you needed to get them.
Yeah, and he did the best he could with what he had.
Right.
And even now, we still have a good relationship. He's retired, and I'm grown with my own children, and our relationship is awesome. But I want to say to the fellas out there, what are you besides your job? Too often these days, we are looked at, men in general are only looked at what we can provide. And what's so bad about that is that we often tell other men that that's what they are. But you are more than that, brother. You have purpose. Purpose. Everything was created with a purpose. We all have some kind of purpose.
Right.
I don't want to get too biblical, but I am. But when man was created, everything was created with a purpose. Birds were created to fly. Fish was created to swim. Vultures were created to eat the garbage.
Right.
What were you created to do?
That's a good question. That's a good question. And I think every man needs to take some time at some point in his life and really be able to define that and come to a conclusion and have some kind of code of ethics and action that helps him display, not only learn, but also display his value to the rest of the world. I think people need to know and see, understand, and feel that you have real value and worth in yourself, and it will determine how you're treated. When you don't carry yourself with much value or much self-esteem, people are gonna treat you that way. It'll be at your work, it'll be at your home, in your relationship, all the way down the line. If you don't stand up and walk around with your head held up high like you matter, then you don't. If people walk up to you and talk to you and don't believe you have any real strong value in yourself, then you don't really count, to be honest with you.
Man, you hit the nail on the head right there, man. We have to be able to look within ourselves and know that you are somebody, and that someone is watching you, someone is emulating you. So I say, lead your life like you're being an example. Even if you don't have children, there's some child somewhere looking at you.
Right.
Somebody trying to latch on and learn something. Right. And it might even be your homeboy right beside you, watching how you do things.
Absolutely. It's amazing how often after the fact, someone will come and tell you, I learned a lot watching you or I saw you doing this or going through this, and it really made me feel a certain kind of way to see a man handle it like that. Because for a lot of us, unfortunately, we grew up in a lot of single parent households, mostly single mother households, and we haven't seen how a man handled something until we became men ourselves, or at least by age men. Mm-hmm. And we had to learn a lot of lessons on the fly. And because of that, if you've never really seen a man be valued, it's going to be hard for you to grasp and have your own value, because you've never actually seen a man be valued by anyone. You've seen yourself as a boy be valued by your mother, but that's it. So I think that's why a lot of black men carry that on through life, that nobody loved me like my mama. Because that's the only person we've seen value us without conditions.
Look, let me pick something out of that. You said that a lot of people say nobody loved me like my mama.
Right.
Here is what's wrong with that statement? The person who says that forgets to include themselves.
Ooh.
They don't love themselves. I was
Ooh.
watching a couple of scholars. They had a live stream the other day, and the person teaches African American studies, and the other one is a PhD of social. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, they were talking about black men,
Right.
and the thing they said is that a lot of black men have low self-esteem.
Right.
And when they described it, I thought about it like, wow, I had low self-esteem.
Oh,
And that
I
statement,
absolutely was a victim of that.
but I know that, and that's the thing that would drag you down through the ground. And that's why I said that about the statement you said, because a lot of young men, old men, boys don't respect themselves.
Right.
Now, I would say love, but I'm going to start with respect. How can I respect you if you don't respect you?
Correct.
We have to learn how to do that. We have to know that you have some kind of worth.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about things that make a man worth. Let's talk about the things that define a man's worth or a man's value, and let's figure out some ways to show men that they are valuable and some things that they just are naturally valuable. Now, myself, when we were talking about this topic and I went through and I started writing some things down about it, I said, well, let me break this down, because it's really, in my opinion, men come in two parts. You come in boy and man. You come in youth and adulthood. Mm-hmm. And you have different strengths and weaknesses in you as a youth, and different strengths and weaknesses as an adult, and things that you really can just hold on to that can help you define yourself and give yourself some value. And I just wrote down a few things, and I started with youth, because we all been young men. And I said, what are some things that you can grab on to for your value in your youth? Your strength, your ambition, your drive, your exuberance about life, which has to be instilled, in my opinion, at a very young age. I think too many of our brothers lose that exuberance too early in life, where they get to the point where they kind of just like, man, it ain't worth living. So we got to hold on to that and can really teach our brothers to value that. The physicality, in my opinion, humble though it may be, the closest thing to perfection physically on the earth is a black man, just because of our natural God-given abilities, talents, and strength. And we don't talk about that enough. You are the closest thing to immortal. When you get hurt when you're a young black man, it's over with tomorrow.
Listen, let me tell you something about that. And this is a sensitive subject, and people might not want to hear it, and they might think I'm crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You ever thought about the reason why we are like that? The reason why black people in every physical sport are always at the top. Even sports we don't do, if we ever do it, we can physically rise to the top. You ever thought about that?
Well, I mean, that scientifically is said to come from all the way back from slavery, from us being, the strongest man, the strongest woman being bred together, trying to make super slaves or whatever. Well, yes. America, it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. We if you look around, we're some impressive people, physically and not to mention intelligence as well, which is one of my other things, the intelligence. Yeah. I just saw an article the other day where 3 black children tested the highest IQ ever. Oh, yeah, and they got into the Mensa Society. Right, yes, same article. So let's not ever, and that's something as great as we are physically, we don't put enough emphasis, especially at a young age, for men. We have a lot of parents out here more worried about their child going to the NFL than going to MIT. There you go. And I can tell you this, our boys are suffering.
there's a statistic out there, and you can look this up and see that most African American boys are not reading past the 4th grade level. And let me tell you why that's important. Because when prisons forecast how much room they need, they look at 4th graders. And the 4th graders that are below reading level, that they are more likely to go to jail.
Wow.
Yeah, they do that. So, but here's the problem. Here is the problem. We know this is a fact. We know that young Black boys are not reading at a high enough grade level to participate in society, but yet and still, we do nothing to help them. We do nothing to help these boys find themselves, to read, and we blame it on everybody else. They always say, well, it's the teachers. The teachers don't know this. The teachers don't know that. But teaching starts at your house. So this is what I got in my research. I was reading some studies and doing some research, and I found this quote, this specific quote. Now check this out. This is what it says. Now it says Hamilton and Howard Hamilton and James have linked these negative outcomes, which the negative outcomes is basically depression of minority groups, psychological disengagement, and things like that among Black people. But this is the important part. The negative outcomes are linked to lower levels of connectedness to their environment, decreased level of personal mastery, and the lack of positive self-esteem. So that, I mean, now think about it. Now, if you don't have that self-worth or the enough self-esteem, this tells what's happening. Look, lower levels of connectedness to their environments. You are in a place and you're just floating through life. All you do is you go to work, you do a manual job, and you come home. And you don't even deal with your wife, kids, girlfriend, whatever. You don't have nothing to give them because your tank is empty.
Right.
You know, and
if you aren't connected to the world around you, you're not going to pull much value from it. You're not going to feel like you have a major effect on it. And for a man, if he doesn't feel like he can affect and change and manipulate his environment, then, you know, we're going to be lacking with ourselves, and we're not going to have a whole lot of value to give anybody else, and not going to feel that we are that important to someone else.
But it's just being connected to what's going on. Right. And this is about breaking the stereotypes. Because the stereotypes say that Black men are not in the home.
Right.
But I'm looking at another Black man right now that's in the home.
Right.
With a good relationship and with children.
Right.
You can't beat that. And then look at this other thing. It said decreased levels of personal mastery. So basically, you can't do anything. Right. It's hard to stumble through life when your thoughts and feelings are all bringing you down. The worst enemy is coming from you, yourself. You're bringing yourself down.
You're sitting there, and you're really in a place where you can't love yourself. So how can you effectively or truly love someone else, to include your relationship, you know, whoever you see in your partner, as well as your children, and even as far as to your friends? Because I'm going to tell you flat out, and excuse my language, you know, I've literally walked up to a friend that I considered a friend, like, boy, you know, you ain't shit. And they back, what, you know what I'm saying? So, like, just that, yes, it's joking, it's in a joking manner, but if you repetitively hear that from the other person that looks just like you, it's gonna have some effect. Rather than walk up to a brother and say, boy, you know, you on top of the world, you know that, right? You know, which is why I like when people say, you know what I'm saying, man, I'm trying to get like you. That's a much better phrase than, boy, you ain't shit.
Yeah. That's right. And you know what, let me break something down for you right here. Listen to this. So you ever heard that saying that words have power? Or saying that power, the tongue has power? Right. People always say that. But let me tell you,
truth to power.
let me dig a little deeper into that. Check this out. Words have power, not that we are magic and can conjure things and create things like that.
Mhm.
That's not how it works. The reason why words in your tongue have power, because the words affect this.
Right.
When you hear things all the time, that's
Right.
why when my children were small, we never said, oh, they just being bad.
Right.
Because you keep telling the kid that they bad, then guess
That's
what's
what
going to
they're gonna
happen?
be. That's
Don't
what
be
they're gonna be.
mad when you get a call from the teacher saying that your kid acting out, because you've been telling them that they bad the whole time for the first 4 years of their life. You've been telling them they bad.
Right.
Words have power.
Words have power.
So,
and no matter what you do, if you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, you're either going to be it or it's going to affect your mood or your feelings and your morale. That's really what we're talking about.
Boy.
We're talking about morale.
Yes, man. Let me go ahead and put you on this train of thought that I learned from a psychologist, and it's how feelings and emotions affect you. They change you.
Right.
So your feelings, any unresolved feeling that goes on for a period of time, changes into your mood. So if somebody make you mad, if you stay mad with that person, then you're gonna be pissed all day. That's your mood.
Yeah.
Then that
It's
mood is
gonna
that.
ruin your day.
Exactly. But some people let that mood linger for a little bit too long, and it turned into their whole temperament. So you just kind of known as being that person that's always in a bad mood.
Right.
But then when that temperament lasts for a while, some people it lasts weeks, months, even years, that's your new personality now. So
Yep.
what happens is these things happen to us, and they lay unresolved.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we said with the words, and they change who we are. And what the person that has to come with the most correct words, the person that has to have the most positive words all the time, you know who that person is? You look at them in the mirror every day.
You every day. That's why I believe in the positive affirmations. And it needs to be a daily and sometimes multiple times a day thing, especially when negative things occur. If you can't rely on yourself to get you back up, then you probably have an issue with your self-worth and your self-value. Mm-hmm. You should not allow a bad evaluation at work to ruin the rest of your day. When you come home, you take it out on your family. Now, I'm not saying don't be concerned and address whatever issues may have happened, but you can't allow that to dominate the rest of your life. You can't. I'll give you one I've seen personally. You can't let a near accident or an incident on the road, a road rage occurrence, or somebody almost hitting you or cutting you off or taking your parking spot or something like that, something as trivial as that. I've seen people walk in the building. And you're like, man, what's wrong with you? Man, somebody cut me off. And they got an attitude with everybody else all day long. Mm-hmm. So now you're taking this 20-second incident and it's ruined 24 hours.
Well, I mean, just to get a little more into that, guess what happens? We don't have the language. We don't have the skills to deal with those things. Now, I'm going to be a bit contrary right here, but what happens is this. There are a lot of single parent homes.
Right.
And a lot of those single parent homes are
female
predominantly led by women.
Women led. Yes, women led homes. Excuse my language. Women led homes.
The boys that we have, the example they have to look to is the woman and how she handles things. Now, I'm not saying how they handle things are right or wrong, because I'm going to say that they were built. Women were built to handle emotional situations. They can flow and move just like this and that. We were not built for that.
Well, and that's on that note of you're not going to say they're wrong, and they're not wrong. The problem is not the woman and how she handles it. The problem is there's no man there to counterbalance it.
Uh-huh.
That's the fact. Okay, she's handling it the way she knows how to handle it. That's all she has. There should be a man there to counter that, to say, okay, baby, that was, I heard you, I feel you, you got it out. However, we got to look at it from this side too, and let's take your how you feel about it and how I think about it and how I'm breaking it down, and let's come up with a solution to our situation. And then your children are going to see that. Okay, all right, mama felt this way about it, daddy felt that way about it, and they came to a working solution. Right now, you have one side of that story. Mom felt this way about it, and she went off and she said blase squaze, and all of a sudden things got worked out, but you never see the child never gets to see the whole process. You don't know who mama went in that room and made a phone call to.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? She might have went in there and called somebody else and got a solution. But what I don't see, I don't think we don't get a chance to see enough is resolution and problem solving between a man and a woman.
That's true. That is true. That is true. I'm going to say this.
Go ahead.
You got it.
What I was saying, on that note, that's what happens later on in the relationships. Nobody knows how to have conflict resolution. Mm-mm. So, but that's a whole other show. That's another show.
Oh, I know it. I got a whole bunch to say about that.
Right.
But I can say, in terms of the self-value, self-worth, self-esteem conversation, I'm going to tell you this. The personal responsibility is paramount in all of this.
Correct.
You are responsible for you. Mm-hmm. And furthermore, the only person that you can change is yourself. You can't change nobody else.
Right.
You can't go back in time and say, oh, I wish my daddy was here, or I wish my mom would. Time machines have never been created.
That's over with. That's over. Oh, I understand we all had our trials, tribulations, and things we wish was different, and people we wish we had around. I lost my mother when I was 8 years old. Who knows what difference that have been in my life? Mm-hmm. But that's done. I had to grow up and grow from that. And did that affect me? Yes. Will it affect the person, whomever else is hearing this, or any other man or woman? Yes. But recognizing the problem that we may have had, may or may not have had, recognize that problem and come to a solution. And I think a core part of those solutions for men is developing self-value and self-worth.
Yeah. And, I also think that it's paramount for us to develop relationships with other men.
Oh, talk about it.
You have to do that. You have to develop a relationship with other men. Now, we can actually get into some deeper things with what type of man that you have to develop relationships with. But just, you need to get somebody you can trust.
Right.
Somebody that you can call and say, hey, bro, man, I'm not feeling this today. Or, this is what happened. I feel like this.
Right.
Because there is a saying that says a man is an island.
No man is an island.
Exactly. There you go. And we take that to heart, and we always end up being islands. And we wall ourselves off. But I'm gonna tell you that you absolutely have to find you somebody to talk to. And you have to find somebody to emulate. If you don't have somebody right now that you can emulate, you got to find somebody. And by that, I mean this. A lot of skills we don't have. Mm-hmm. But there are gentlemen that have those skills.
Right.
Look at how they do things. And the things that they do. And then you do that.
Right.
So, just having that example, and by turn, you will be an example to somebody else.
Right. Okay. So let's stay here. Okay. We know we've defined value and self-esteem.
Mhm.
All right. We've talked about some of the things and the ways it affects young men and men and how they go about their daily activities.
Mhm.
You know, we can probably spend all day talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. Let's. What are some things a man can do, as you're talking about building relationships, which I think is a big part of that.
Mhm.
Building relationships, mentorships to a certain level. I'll speak on my own personal level. Somebody I called a friend and a mentor, my boy Bruce. You know, he told me once. He said, "Hey, you should be 10 years ahead of me." I said, "What you mean?" He said,
Mm.
"I'm 10 years older than you, and I'm willing to share with you all the knowledge that I have. So you should always be 10 years ahead of my curve because you got a 10-year head start in knowledge available to you. So if you aren't getting where you want to go, for you, because I'm telling you, I'm here to give you this knowledge, that's on you. But I had to develop that relationship to have a source of information. And I don't think young black men and grown black men, for that matter, develop enough of those type of relationships because we don't, according to what you, just like what you just said, we don't speak to one another openly and honestly enough.
No, we don't. And like I said, when I heard those scholars talking and when they talked about black men being depressed and having low self-esteem, they also talked about the fact that we don't have a language for that. There's no discourse to describe it. So we just don't know.
Right.
But to your point, what you were talking about, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, someone that was willing to give you the game, somebody that was going to say, "Man, look, just how you do it." And that same way Bruce did that to you, you're going to do that to somebody else. I know for a fact you already have.
Well, you know, I got a few guys, guys I work with, and you know what? Some of those young guys are good, impressive guys. Maybe I call candidates to make appearances here on this program. But you know, and I appreciate whenever them boys come to me and say, "Hey, man, with something you said this or you said that," and it really affected me and made a change for me. And those relationships are what I carry with me moving forward in life, as that's where I get my value from, because I know I'm having an effect on the guys 10 and 15 years younger than me. Yeah. And I'm giving them something they've used and they've applied to help their lives be better. So that's where I get some of my own personal value from, knowing that I'm adding something out there. And I think that's another thing that comes from what you just talked about, those conversations between men. You learn about them, and you learn about yourself. You learn about what you have to offer, what things of value you can say. So if you can't find value in yourself in a room of men, it's going to be hard for you to find value in a room of women or a room of children, because you haven't had a discussion that's led you to know you have any value.
Well, I can attest to that, and we have to overcome something called imposter syndrome.
Okay.
We all have it.
Okay. Well, do this for me. Let's define imposter syndrome for the audience.
Okay, y'all. So imposter syndrome is, that feeling that you have that you don't belong somewhere, that you're not good enough to do something. I shouldn't be doing this, or I'm not as smart as them, so I shouldn't be here. Imposter syndrome is the thing that sends our dreams, our hopes, our aspirations to the graveyard. And because of imposter syndrome, there's a whole graveyard full of dreams out there. Yours might even be out there, because I know a lot of mine was.
Right.
But the thing is, we have to overcome that part. And here's the key to that. While we're talking about solutions, I always say that a man should know himself like a quarterback knows his team.
Okay.
So when we look at this, quarterbacks, they know every single play.
Right.
They know that they can throw the ball toward the 50-yard line and the receiver's going to be there.
Right.
You got to know yourself like that. That is key. Knowing what makes you nervous, what makes you afraid, what being afraid actually feels like, how to separate the two. Because a lot of times we have these feelings, these unresolved feelings that we deal with, and we don't even know what they are. And then they lead to violence. They lead to us doing things we shouldn't be doing. They lead to our low self-esteem because we don't know where this stuff comes from and how our body and how our mind reacts to all of these things. So I would say it's important for us to know ourselves. Pay attention to yourself. Just don't float through life. You know, that's like leading that passive life. I call it, you can lead an offensive life or a defensive life.
Right.
And, you know, it's a saying that offense wins games. No, I'm sorry. That's the wrong way.
No, offense wins games and defense wins championships.
Yep. But if you lead a defensive life, that means you're not scoring any points.
Right.
The best thing you can do is hope for a tie.
Yeah. Well, you got to outscore the other guy to win.
Exactly.
So you can play all the defense in the world, but you got to put some points up to win. Because like you say, all you can do if you don't score no points is tie.
Is get a tie.
That's all you can do. So you got to put some points up. And that goes back to what we said earlier about the connectivity to the world around you and feeling like you do have a legitimate part to play. So it's real easy to get lost and not feel that you belong somewhere when you don't think you have a real part to play.
Yeah, because we are programmed, and a lot of us we base ourselves off what we do, what we can do.
Right.
And if you're not doing nothing,
well, that goes back to the earlier statement. That's self-mastery.
Yes.
You know, you have to take the time to really find out what you're good at. Like you got your 12 years of primary school, and that gives you a base. And I sadly to speak, I don't think that base is nearly as developed as it should be in our school systems, especially when it comes to young black men. But they went about the work years ago of taking all those things that help you develop out of the school system as far as like wood shop and crafts and mechanics and all those kind of things where people learn skills, learn how to work with their hands, find out if they tend more to work with their hands and be in the book. Because some of the best paying careers out here got nothing to do with going to college. You can go get you a trade, make you $100,000 a year without breaking a sweat.
That's true.
So I don't think there's enough, and part of that comes from what we've been talking about, men talking to men. It's not enough development of men and really boys early on so they can say, oh, I tried this, I tried that,
yeah,
I like this, I don't like that. We aren't introducing our boys to enough to have to even know what they can be good at.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would agree with a lot of that. Therefore, with my own personal, my son, you know, I try to introduce him to a lot of things. He's one of the smartest kids.
Getting, somebody internet not working so well.
What we got here? Let me see.
Yeah, we're getting some drag somewhere.
Wi-Fi?
We both. I'm on Wi-Fi.
You on Wi-Fi? You on Wi-Fi?
Yeah. I'll hardwire it next time because we won't have this issue. That might be me.
It's all good, man. It's all good. All right. Well, I said that we can going to go ahead and wrap it up, or we want to keep going.
Let's wrap it up. How do we want to wrap? We want to wrap it up, both of us with a closing, or do we want to wrap it up with let's come up with an actionable step, something we want. Let's give people a directive, something they need to do, along the lines of like, I need you to go out and make a connection with another man. I need you to
go, like
what are some of your thoughts on that?
Oh, I got stuff pulled up right here for that. I mean, so do you want to do? We each can do one. Or you just want to do one in general?
Let's you go ahead and do you one, because I don't have one ready.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
All right. All right, here we go. All right. So oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and try to end this right now. It's a lot of good things that have been said, a lot of information given out. A lot more to come. But let me leave you with this. This is something I need for you to try. In order to build your self-esteem, in order to find out more about yourself. So what I want you to do is think of someone that you admire. Now you need to get some paper. I want you to write this down. Think of someone you admire. And once you find that person, I want you to write their name down. And figure out why you admire this person. Make a list, at least 3 things. Why do you admire this person, admire and respect this person's name that you wrote down? And when you do that and come up with those 3 things, I want you to try to implement those things in your life tomorrow. When you do that, if you like somebody because of how they carry themselves, how they deal with conflict, the next time conflict comes, I want you to try to do that. But you have to write it down, because writing things down makes it real. So my last thing I'm going to say, and this is important. You're a good man. You're doing a good job. Just keep working. Because sometimes that's all we need to hear. You're doing a good job, bro. Keep it up. Keep working hard.
And on that note, thank you, Doc. Thank you for that. We want to always impart upon you guys a step towards what we talk. We're not just going to come on here and talk about all kind of things and not give you a step, an actionable step to follow to help improve your situation. Please join us weekly. We'll have different topics of discussion. Please, when you see this, post it, like, share, comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know about your ideas, things you'd like us to discuss, things you'd like us to go over. We got a lot of great ideas and topics, but we love to hear from the people. We just want to be a platform where Black men can come and have a conversation. We don't think enough conversation is being had between Black men. So like he said, you're doing a good job. Keep your head up. Stay up. Tomorrow can be better. Tomorrow can be better. We care about you. Your family cares about you. You matter. You matter to me. You matter to Doc. We love y'all. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that coming soon. We love you. We out.